Hey, it's Chris. July. July is freaking upon us, right? It's my favorite month. It's my birthday month. I'm not getting any presents though, so we have to talk about crowdfunding games instead. Let's do it, right? Because my most anticipated crowdfunding game of the year is launching this month. The only thing that I can guarantee you all year long that I am going to be all in for, right? That's what we're starting off with this week, this day, this month, this video. Let's go right into it. Screw the rest of the intro I was planning on doing, right? Let's just go straight into DC Heroes United, right? That's what's out there. At the time of me filming this, Man vs. Meeple put out a video with some exclusive CMON content, which is interesting because CMON practically in the last couple campaigns has only gone to Board Game Co. So we're seeing a little bit of branching out there. Although, actually, I take that back. They did go to Dice Tower, I think, a few times for playthroughs. So, as a huge Marvel United fan, arguably one of the biggest fans on the content creator side of things, right? The YouTube, the media personality side of things. I'll make the argument that I am one of the biggest fanatics of this game as a whole. And that's why I say I'm probably going to buy it all. But I'll also put that disclaimer on this right at the beginning here, just so people don't think I'm telling them they should do that or what I'm doing is a good thing, is that inevitably the problem is with all of these previous campaigns is you can't always tell which expanses are going to be good or going to be really good, right? That was the problem with the first one, right? No one really knew Sinister Six was going to be the one that was going to be really good out of all those other expansions that came out the first time around. Similarly, you had Apocalypse, you had the Infinity Gauntlet, those ones that are like sort of included with the baser pledge levels that seem to get more attention. But then the other ones are a little bit of a mixed grab bag. And we saw team modes, we've seen increased challenge mode, we've seen increased ability modes, we've seen a little bit of everything now with multiverse. And with Man vs. Meeple's video, we saw a few changes on how the BAM is going to, which is the bad guy effect. When they go, they activate one of their abilities, and each enemy has a unique BAM effect, and how these are going to be different, including things like Dark Sides and like Luthers and Gorilla Grodd, necessarily not always, and things like Lex Luthers and Dark Sides and Cheetahs, all of those being Jokers different than how they've manipulated it in the Marvel side of things. And that has probably been the biggest surprise, as well as the biggest, just absolutely amazing thing to see of how unique and how different they can take one simple mechanistic element of things and make it so unique across so many very different ways without increasing significantly the overhead. Do you need any more than like one crowdfunding Kickstarter? Now, I guess I can't say that. GameFound exclusive stretch goal box? No, you don't. But I also give them kudos because, just like with Marvel, they dug deep into the pocketbooks. Or maybe just the lore, if you will. I don't know how deep into the pocketbooks, but deep into the lore of characters that you wouldn't have expected. And I would imagine that if they hold true what they did with the last two Marvel ones, X-Men and Multiverse, we're going to see that with DC. And we're going to have characters I've never heard of or that I only know vaguely peripherally. Like, I pretty much knew everybody that came out with X-Men and Multiverse, right? Pretty much knew everybody, no matter what, because I'm a little bit of a, but nerd, geek, whatever you want to say. But I'm not familiar with the DC universe, right? Like, I grew up Marvel. I was a Marvel kid, I'm a Marvel adult, Marvel now, not a big DC, but I'm not against DC whatsoever, right? We were just watching the Lego Batman movie tonight, right? That shows he's clearly not prejudiced. Anyway, but where I'm going with this is I want to love it, and they're gonna have to do something significantly different or turn offish to not get me to buy all of it, like a massive Dark Side or something like that in the form of Galactus. I don't know. Please CMON, please do not do that. Just give me vanilla of expansion stuff this time. I don't need a massivature. I just don't. So that's what we're gonna see. That one is clearly by far and away my biggest one of the month, without any question whatsoever. And that's probably more so a personal thing than anything else, because I know a lot of you are either sick of the Marvel, the superhero, the chibi, whatever you want, the exclusives. I know. I'm sorry. I'm propagating it up, and I know I shouldn't, but I just can't. It's the one exception I give myself for a whole with that one. So take that for what you will. The other big one of the month, and we'll kind of see, and although it's got a lot of, I think, media hype behind it, and I don't really know how, I just don't know how widely, like, outside of the niche bubble this one falls, and that's 20 strong, right? I think it's well thought of by the people that like it, but is it one of those games that has a broader mass appeal, especially as a solo-only game? Now, we're going to see with what Manny Tremblay's got in store for us with Roth vibes of coloration in sort of an Alice in Wonderland style, though, with Tanglewoods. 3 new decks, 3 new colors, a campaign essentially modish that's going to have some ramifications, but I guess maybe you don't actually even need to play them in a certain order, and they're all going to have different elements of aspects that are still significant, that if you only buy one, it's going to be different than the other, but like they really made them different with the previous ones. So if these are supposed to be like more connected, right, are you going to find one that's better than the other, or are you going to have one of these 3 now that is clearly significantly better? Now, I mean, again, the price point for the previous 3 was like $65, $60, whatever it was, so not bad whatsoever from a crowdfunding aspect of things. But don't worry, they said you can get the strategist pledge on this campaign too. So if you want to pay $800 to get all of their games, base games in the future, you can. So I don't know how you feel about that. You going to go in on this? Now, the only thing I said that was potentially going to be the most interest to me is that if they ever announced a 2-player mode or a competitive, like something along those lines mode. So I guess they really haven't ruled it out completely, unless I'm like not really paying attention, which I'm not. But that would be the thing. And so I can't see them doing that necessarily. So we'll see where that goes. The other one that I will be covering is going to be Ivy Studios' Brink. Now, that is the next upcoming one from them. And we're going to see where it goes because it's set in the Moonrakers universe. And I know Moonrakers is probably, I would make the argument, their most popular. And I'm not sure if they'd agree with me, but I just see that one more widely reaching in that sense than some of the other ones. And the other ones, I mean, again, it's not probably my favorite game by any means. I love Mythic Mischief, and then I love Veiled Fate, and then maybe it's, you know, Fractured Sky versus Moonrakers. But this is going to bring something that those other ones that I just mentioned aren't bringing to the table, and this is a foray into the worker placement and its space exploration. Hidden voting, though, meets Fractured Sky elements, and you're going to be combining it somehow to do negotiation that the other two, that its namesake that I just mentioned, and Fractured Sky, are potentially throwing together all in a, you know, flurry of ninja chopped processor, if you will. You're placing ships on hex grids to get resources and actions, but power within a faction based on the color of the hex itself, and then you vote on which factions are going to score points. So if it sounds as straightforward as that with some nuanced tactical, I'm all in for it. If it's going to be more heavy Euro, that's where it's going to scare me a little bit from that aspect of things. I'll be covering it, like I said. It's going to do a little 4X, upgrade, explore, you know, influence, and you're only playing it over 3 rounds, so interesting. You got 3 ships, 3 rounds. It's only going to be 9 actions. No, there has to be more to it than that. But we'll see. They are a Chip Theory Roxley-esque deluxeified on crowdfunding, and we'll see if this combination of mechanics and aesthetics and universes are going to be as appealing to people as the previous ones. And speaking of appeal, Metago is coming back as well at the beginning of the month on the same day, at least both of these are, you know, announced for the same day at the time of me filming this, with another, well, not really another, but a slight addition to Kemet, the remake Blood and Sand, with a new modular expansion. Just like when we saw them come back with Cyclades with their legendary expansion, they sort of took all of the existing content, diced it up, and did the chop order situation a la the Star Wars, right? And only made it into one board game previously. And so how do you feel about that with an ancient Egyptian area control tech tree driven hand management style game? And modularity with a new map and figurines, because that was one of the other main reasons that you were getting, especially Cyclades, was that they said, okay, we're going to give you, miniatures versus, meeples. And so we're getting new modes here to go with this remake from 2020. It's already been that long, yeah. Right? 6-player mode. Not sure how I feel about that. My higher player counts. Solo mode. Okay, it's fitting you solo junkies. 2 new tile colors, amber and amethyst. Other various modules, though, yet to be announced. So, again, French designers giving us more features, more inspirations based off the Tassetti and the Seth expansions from the first Kemet to bring these more tile colors to life. Not a whole lot of other info. If you go over to the GameFound, because again, they're over on GameFound now as well, that there are going to be miniatures a la, the Egyptian gods, and then there's going to be Gods of Egypt mode. The mode is adding an asymmetric option under certain conditions where you can summon the god you're actually embodying on the board, like Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Sorry, bad reference there. 6-player, though, joins as a potential traitor. Okay. T for timeout, right? Half of that, I'm all in on, right? Traitor? Smash and screw with other people on an area control game? Oh, yeah. 6-player. Oh, man, okay. We'll see. Classics, gods, and team modes including the gods miniatures too. So a little bit of everything there, and unique powers at your disposal if you get to play with the gods. So, just they're saying inspiration based off of the Book of the Dead expansion. Awakening of the Gods mechanism is the new mechanism that they've got going on there that we just talked about. The god is a troop, you're summoning them. Unpredictability, confusion, disorder based on the type of god that you're doing, like if you're Seth. But they give you a couple examples of what they're trying to do as well in the latest update. So, I've never played this. I want to play it. We'll see. Should be interesting. Then we also have the latest from Paverson. I've talked about this once or twice. It is going to be Luthier crafting musical instruments for patrons through worker placement and hidden bidding. Heavier than Distilled, their previous game, which I should, if this video is airing properly, have my review out of that before this airs. And spoilers if it's not, I guess, or somehow if you missed it and it already is out. Distilled is just, it's a very good game. I understand now why that was on a lot of people's best of 2023 lists, right? I am not often surprised by games necessarily in that way, and that is significantly smooth Euro vibes with a slight asymmetric and just a touch of randomness that you're trying to control and mitigate, and just hums. And so we'll use that analogy, humming, to see if this worker placement with musical instruments can hum just as well. Does hidden bidding and worker placement, do those go together in your head when you're talking about these sort of things? Multiple tracks, multiple worker abilities that you're unlocking, goals, strategies, performances, buildings, repairs, apprenticing, workshopping, reputation, right? They're trying to marriage theme and mechanics. Distilled, I'd argue that the unique drawing mechanism of your distillation on every round of, discarding cards from the top and bottom of the allocated resource cards in the first place in the pile is relatively unique, and a gimmick that I was a little bit unsure of as reading through the rules worked a whole heck of a lot better than I was expecting. So if Paverson can, reproduce that in some way, different way, shape, or form, again, I think you're going to see a lot of people gravitating towards this one, even though, again, the weighting is a 3.6 now on Board Game Geek, so that's not insignificant at the same time, so take that for what you will. Then we have the upcoming Sinister Fish, their Yonder worker placement style with asymmetric ability-based fantasy workers, your goblins, trolls, whatever along those lines, elves, is going to bring us a new dynamic of the elements that they're known for with the previous ones of, like villages and moon. And so this is going to be a little different, obviously, with the worker placement. And we're going to see how they can, capture our imaginations with that. Because a good fantasy worker placement game, we see lots of very dark themed fantasy worker placement games, but the lighter side of things, like Lords of Waterdeep style or vibes or, theme like that, where it's not just like kill, kill, death, death. I don't see as many of those types. So it'll be interesting to see what they have in store for us as well. And then Lucky Duck is coming to us about the same time with the Flames of Fafnir, which was apparently delayed from June and now going to be launching mid-July as a tower defense, marble dropping, flame-breathing dragon to go along aesthetically wise. I just hope it's not like Everdell Tree situation and it's actually functional and it doesn't take too much setup and tear down in order to actually get it out on the board, but also it's storable, you know, apart from some of the other big cardboard monstrosities I've had issues with in that sense. So we'll see what Lucky Duck has in store because, again, they're going different approach, and I don't think there's any app usage here. So, again, tower defense games are not aplenty. I love the idea of a tower defense game. I love the idea of an asymmetric take that, you know, potentially betrayer as well, they say, on the side of the dragon, destroying everybody else. That just screams fun to me. That screams a la, not mechanically at all similar, but just the fun element aspect that you can't necessarily always quantify, right? Thunder Road Vendetta, right? Shouldn't be that fun. Shouldn't be. You know, reminds me too much of the other marble-based dropping game from Restoration that I was not as big a fan of with their remake of that one, right? Fireball Island. So, is it going to be like Fireball Island? Is it going to be like Thunder Road Vendetta? I'm interested to see, because again, I worry a little bit about deluxifications if there is that element of things already to begin with as a mechanistic approach, because I worry about then how much overhead, you know, just content-wise that's going to be included, just like with Fireball Island, right? Like 3 expansions. Is this kind of, really? So that'd be the other issue, and just durability of something like that too. So how is it going to be manufactured and long-term usage? That's going to be the big question. Then supposedly Karma Games gonna have their next one out in this line of simultaneously apparently shipping and delivering crowdfunding campaigns that we saw earlier. I believe earlier this year, Millennia, and I'm blanking on the other one. But they're going to be bringing us, supposedly in the month of July, Clans of Caledonia, the long-awaited Industria expansion, when you're going through the Industrial Revolution with, well, more modular components, gameplay elements that are going to be upping this, one of the top Euro games on Board Game Geek all time, right? Pick up and deliver, railroad, delivering to Scottish towns, getting more bonuses and getting more milestones, selling at the farmer's market, and scoring. But you can also get a solo mode with a true multiplayer experience there with a new AI system that they've developed. Not that type of AI, but Automa side of things. So difficulty sliding scale, players of every skill level. I mean, again, like until I talked about this previously earlier in the year, I didn't realize this was the 64th ranked game overall. They said it's going to be a big box, metal expansions, designing the graphics. They ran a tournament on Tabletop Simulator for the expansion, and they like the feedback they're getting so far. So no formal launch date, but the earlier anticipation was July, so we'll see if that gets cleared up anytime between now and then. But this is also one that, with the delays that have happened already with it a couple times, like nothing significant, right? It's just impatient people on Board Game Geek. But I could see it going either way right now, so we'll see if it launches or not. Then we actually have an expansion that's not currently listed at the time of me filming this over on Board Game Geek for One Deck Dungeon. Relics of the Forge is going to be a new gameplay expansion to go along with it. And the roguelike game from Asmodee is coming back with a little bit of everything that you may be interested in, because now you can enter with said relic, giving you more asymmetric unique play styles and powerful abilities though, but you're going to have to actually fuel it because the power just doesn't come from anywhere, right? You have to plug it in and charge it. And so you're going to have to get fuels, be clever use through the dice manipulation that you may be used to as a whole. And well, it's small box, high portability. So that's what they're going with here. Again, the not as much mitigation. Is this kind of your ilk as a solo gamer? Do you enjoy spatial manipulation with dice? Well, lack potentially of mitigation in a very hardcore way. This is a tough game, and it didn't fit everyone's needs, especially if you were looking for a dungeon crawler, and this one had more of those vibes, although, again, mechanically completely different. So do you want to see what it has in store for us? Well, Asmodee is, I believe, launching this one over on BackerKit. At least that's where the pre-landing pages, right? Then Deep Regrets Tedx Games is giving us a game that is based off of a video game similar to Dredge, if you're familiar with that, where a little bit of a press your luck dice rolling again, but catch and release, a little bit of asymmetric abilities to go along with it as you're trying to go through 3 different depths and 9 different types of, well, mix, as the designer says in the Board Game Geek forums, of Scooby-Doo and Lovecraftian aesthetic to give you a just fun experience as a whole. Characters, items, fishes are going to be all, I can say that, fishes, right? Yeah, it's fishes. I'm right with that one, because there's not just multiple of one fish, it's multiples of multiple different types. So it is fishes, if I remember my dictionary rules in that sense. But this is where it comes in the name and the aforementioned title, right? You'll collect regret cards as you see more things that are terrifying as you go down further. Drives up your madness, gives you more dice though, and increases the values of some weird fish. So high risk, high reward. Are you being mad? I love this, but then straight up with just dice and craziness from that aspect of things. Resource management, leverage your madness, and regrets. So there's gonna be a solo mode as well. So give this one a look-see. Dark Horse of the Month, question mark. We'll see. It's got like, I don't know, like 2,400 people already following over on the pre-launch page for Kickstarter. So there you go. That's it. That's everything. That is July. Not probably top to bottom as big right now at the time of me filming this as June, but still not shabby whatso frickin' ever, right? You heard my comments and conversations about, or beginning about that. So we'll see. And again, the best part about this is, as much as I know about the stuff that's, you know, one launching here, there are ones that you think you're going to love, that you see the rules, you see the price, you see the dynamics, and you go, just kidding, wallet safe. And then there's other dark horses that come out of nowhere. Nawali at the end of June for me. Nawali at the beginning of June for me. That's a, you know, out of nowhere game. Things like that you just go, that's why you do crowdfunding, right? Truth be told, side note here at the end, I was looking at Six Siege the other day, right? I was looking at Six Siege. It's very interesting. People have a very interesting, black or white opinion of things, because a lot of people are just having this very strong opinion on Board Game Geek of saying, you should not even consider buying this game with how badly it was managed. You should not support the designers in the first place. There was a video on Board Game Geek where people were saying this is, a great game. We think the practice was horrible and how they did it, but there's a great game. And people in the comment section just clearly, one, didn't watch the video, and two, clearly can't separate out, like, not everything is black and white, evil and, good. And they were attacking the people who made the video, like saying, you can't say this is a good game. Period. You can't say it. Doesn't matter how good the game is. You just can't even say it, right? And just being jerks. Don't be a jerk on the internet. That's your lesson for today. Have a great day, and don't be a jerk. Stay classy. Peace out. See you around. Where I was going with that, though, was, do I even want to buy that game? And I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I said, in theory, this is a game that I would love. Right? With a dedicated group of, one person, essentially like a Star Wars Rebellion, Dune War for Arrakis vibe of playing this head to head, I believe it probably could be, technically, mechanically speaking, that good. But between the price point, the unknown, and probably the unavailability for me to ever get it routinely enough played with a weight of 3.4 and the rules minutia and line of sight issues notwithstanding, just the feasibility of it is just probably nil at this point. So they had like a Father's Day special going on. I glanced at it from that aspect, but I just couldn't do it. And so, here we are a couple, days, weeks later, and, hasn't left my mind, but still there. Still going to lurk for a while, but, not going to be lurking here. So